My phone battery was at 12% when I opened Snapchat that night. I was lying on my couch in my socks, watching random stories to pass the time. The whole house was completely quiet around me, except for the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. I decided to open the Snap Map feature to see if any of my friends were still up. Usually it just shows people hanging out at local spots or resting at home. My friends and I sometimes use it to drop in on each other or send funny screenshots. I zoomed in on my neighborhood map. The app focused right on my street, showing my house as a small blue icon. My personal avatar was standing right inside the building. Everything looked completely normal at first. Then I noticed 4 red dots clustered together right in my backyard. They were sitting right next to my patio table. I tapped on the icons, expecting to see my friends pulling a late-night prank. The app did not show any names I recognized. Instead of normal avatars, the icons were blank gray figures with no faces. The username fields were just random strings of encrypted numbers and symbols. I refreshed the app 3 times, thinking it was just a technical glitch with my GPS. Every time the map loaded, those 4 gray icons stayed in the exact same spot behind my garage. They were sitting in a neat line, just a few feet apart. My house has a tall wooden fence, completely surrounding the backyard. Nobody can get back there unless they walk down the narrow alleyway between my garage and the neighbor's fence. It made no sense for 4 strangers to be standing in my yard at midnight. I slowly put my phone on the table and stood up. Sweat was pouring down my palms, making my hands feel freezing cold. I tried to tell myself it was just teenagers using a fake location app to scare me. The hallway leading to the back kitchen window was pitch black. Every tiny noise in the house sounded 10 times louder, from the creaking floorboards to the distant traffic outside. I stopped near the edge of the wall, trying to control my shaking. I crept up to the kitchen window, staying low so nothing outside could spot me. I reached up and pulled the edge of the curtain back just half an inch. The automatic floodlight had failed to turn on, leaving the yard in deep shadow. I pressed my face against the icy glass, peering out into the dark. 4 tall figures were standing completely still in the middle of my lawn. They were not moving at all, staring straight up at the windows with their heads tilted back. They wore oversized, dirty clown suits with plastic masks that had massive, frozen, fake smiles. I pulled back from the curtain and ran back toward the living room. My foot caught the edge of the rug, slamming my shoulder hard into the door frame. I ignored the pain, scrambled across the floor, and grabbed my phone off the table to call 911. The speakerphone rang over and over through the empty house, but no operator answered the line. I ran toward the dining room to shut the window blinds, terrified that those people were going to break inside. My legs felt heavy, and my chest burned with pure panic as I moved through the dark. I reached the dining room window and grabbed the plastic cord to close the slats. Before pulling it, I took a quick look through the glass to check the yard. The exact spot where those 4 masked figures had been standing was now completely empty. I pulled the blinds shut as fast as I could, making the plastic slats clatter loudly. I spun around to head toward the front entrance to lock down the rest of the house. I was terrified they had already slipped inside through the side door. I stopped dead in my tracks in the middle of the room. A pale clown mask was pressed flat against the outside window pane, right next to the front door. Painted black eyes were staring straight at me, and long, white fingers were smearing the glass. I stumbled backward in terror, turned around, and ran for the wooden staircase. Halfway up the stairs, my foot lost traction on the 5th step, sending me flying forward. My chin slammed violently into the hard step, sending a flash of sharp pain through my jaw. The hit knocked the phone out of my hand, sending it tumbling down to the bottom landing. I groaned, crawled upward on my hands and knees, and dragged myself to the top landing. I threw myself into the bedroom, rushed to the front window, and looked down at the driveway. All 4 clothed figures were suddenly sprinting together toward the back wooden gate. They moved with a disturbing, fluid speed, but their heavy boots made 0 sound on the pavement. Then the whole property went dead silent, leaving me trapped in the dark with no way to call for help. The faint sound of the 911 operator finally answering was coming from my phone at the bottom of the stairs, but I was too terrified to go back down. I stayed crouched on the floor near my bed, staring at the dark doorway leading out into the hall. My jaw was throbbing, and a thin trickle of blood was running down my chin onto my shirt. I gripped the wooden bed frame as hard as I could, listening for any sound of breaking glass. A sharp, polite knock suddenly sounded from the front door downstairs. It started as 3 slow raps against the thick wood, sending cold horror through my body. I pulled my knees tightly against my chest and held my breath, refusing to make a sound. The tapping instantly turned into violent, thundering blows that shook the entire front of the house. The heavy vibrations traveled up through the walls, rattling the bedroom windows. I covered my ears, completely overwhelmed by the noise.
"Police department, open the door immediately,"
a loud voice shouted from the front porch. I pulled myself up, walked to the window, and saw red and blue lights flashing outside. I ran down the stairs, grabbed my cracked phone, and threw the front door open. 2 police officers were standing on my porch with high-powered flashlights drawn. They pushed past me into the house, scanning the dark corners, while I tried to explain what happened through my bleeding lip. My voice was shaking violently as I pointed toward the backyard.
"We got a dropped call from this address, sir. Where are these people right now?"
They were in my yard a minute ago. 4 people wearing dirty clown masks were looking through my windows. The officers searched the entire property line, using their heavy lights to check every shadow. They walked around the garage, checked the wooden fence, and searched the side alleyway, but found nothing out of the ordinary. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints in the dirt, and no people in the area. After 20 minutes, the officers filled out a quick report, told me to keep my doors locked, and drove away. I stood in my living room with all the lights on, still shaking. I picked up my phone, unlocked the cracked screen, and opened Snapchat one last time. The map was completely clear of gray icons, but a new notification sat at the top of my screen from an unknown user. A photo of me sleeping in my bed, taken from inside my bedroom 3 nights ago. Between August and October 2016, thousands of police reports in the US and Europe documented individuals dressed as clowns lurking around homes late at night. In Kentucky, a man in a clown costume was arrested after security cameras captured him on the porch of a home trying to force open the front door at midnight. I was live on Snapchat with 30 friends from college, just messing around before trying to go to sleep. We were laughing at dumb jokes in the chat, watching the comments move up the screen. My desk was behind me, right next to the big wooden closet doors. Those doors were completely shut, just like I always keep them every single night. I held the phone up high so everyone could see my face clearly. The front camera showed my tired face and the dark corner behind my shoulder. Someone sent a joke about our math teacher, and I laughed out loud while rubbing my eyes. The tiny light on top of my phone kept flashing as more people joined. Everything felt totally normal and calm, just like any other late-night stream in my room. Leon suddenly sent a message saying he heard a strange sound in my room. I ignored him at first because he always tries to scare people on my streams. 3 seconds later, another girl asked if my closet door just moved. I stopped laughing instantly and stared right into the camera, trying to see if anything was moving behind me in the dark. The whole room went dead silent except for the wind outside the window. Nobody was typing in the chat anymore, even though 34 people were still watching me. My hand held the phone tight as the screen cast long gray shadows on my lap. The bright screen hurt my eyes, but I could not look away from the video. More messages flooded the stream, moving much faster than before. Leon typed in all caps, telling me not to turn my head around at all. Another friend typed that I should only look at the phone screen. They were not joking anymore, and their panic made my heart beat super fast. They said the crack between the closet doors was open wider than before. I kept my head still, staring right at the glass screen. I used my thumb to zoom in on the video as much as possible. Right in the dark gap between the 2 doors, something pale was standing completely still. The light from my phone reflected off a wet human eye that was wide open, staring right at the back of my neck. The comments were scrolling so fast that I could not even read the names. Everyone told me to get up and run out of the house immediately. My legs were folded under me on the floor, and my body just frozen up completely. The shape inside the closet shifted, and a second eye slowly appeared out of the dark shadow. My heavy breathing sounded terrible through the phone microphone in the quiet room. The phone screen showed the wooden doors moving open without making any sound on their metal hinges. Two pale hands with dirty nails grabbed the edges of the wood and pulled the doors open. I slowly turned my head around until I was looking right at the open closet. My Uncle David stepped out from behind my hanging clothes, dropping a heavy bag onto the floor. He looked crazy, with a dirty beard, messy clothes, and a wild smile on his face. I froze completely on the carpet, unable to believe my own relative was hiding in my room. I tried to slide back, but my shoulders slammed right into the side of my bed. My voice cracked as I yelled at him, asking what he was doing in my house at 2 a.m. He did not answer right away. He just kept staring at me with big, open eyes while taking a slow step forward. I sat in that dark space for hours, waiting for you to be completely alone in this room. His voice sounded rough and dry, like he had not drank any water all day. He took another fast step forward, crushing a plastic water bottle on the floor under his shoe. The horror of what was happening made me panic, and I screamed loudly while trying to scramble away from his reaching hands. I turned my body and crawled under my low bed frame, pulling my glowing phone along with me. It was hard to breathe under the bed because of all the heavy dust and old boxes. I turned around to face the open room, holding the phone in front of my scared face. The live stream was still running, and my friends were watching me panic in real time. I used my thumb to tap the location pin on Snapchat, sharing my exact home address into the live chat room. I wrote, "Call the police right now. He is in my room and trying to hurt me." Outside the bed, his dirty shoes stopped right next to my blankets. He immediately dropped down flat onto the floor, staring right at me from under the bed frame. He reached his long arm under the wood, clawing around until his fingers grabbed a big fistful of my hair. He pulled my head back with crazy force, smashing my skull against the wooden frame above me. Pain shot through my head, but the raw terror made me kick my legs wild against his arm. He pulled hard again, dragging my body out into the open room while I tried to grab the carpet to stop him. The phone stayed stuck in my right hand, capturing his angry face on camera. He threw his heavy body on top of my chest, trapping me on the floor. All the air left my lungs at once, leaving me gasping for breath. He pinned my left arm down with his hand and used his other arm to squeeze my neck hard. I used my free hand to smash the hard corner of my phone right into his cheek. The plastic cut his skin, and dark red blood spilled down onto my face. He let out a loud shout of pain, raising his big hand and hitting me hard across the face. My head snapped to the side, hitting the wooden base of my nightstand with a loud thud. I kicked my legs up with everything I had left, hitting him right in the ribs and knocking him off balance. That gave me a short second to move, so I tried to crawl on my stomach toward the open door. He reached out fast, grabbing the back of my shirt and pulling me backward onto the hard floor again. My chin slammed right into the floorboards, filling my mouth with blood. I could hear my friends yelling through the phone speakers, saying the police were already on their way to my house. My uncle grabbed both sides of my head, lifting me up and slamming my face down into the hard wood. The hit sent terrible pain through my whole body, making the whole room spin around. My eyes went blurry, and my arms dropped weak onto the floor. The last thing I saw before passing out was the glowing phone screen lying on the carpet near my face. My eyes opened to bright red and blue lights flashing across my ceiling from the window. The whole house was full of loud noises, with heavy boots running up the stairs outside my bedroom door. Loud voices were shouting commands, and metal gear was clanking in the hallway. 2 police officers kicked my door open, their bright flashlights lighting up the dark room. One officer tackled my uncle into the corner, knocking over my desk and chair with a loud crash. My uncle hit the wall hard, and I heard the snap of handcuffs behind his back. He screamed and fought against them, but they dragged him out into the hallway. The second officer dropped down on his knees right next to me on the carpet. He put 2 fingers on my neck to check my pulse, turning me onto my side so I could breathe. "Do not move your body. The ambulance team is coming up the stairs right now." I looked at the floor right next to my bleeding hand. The phone screen was smashed up, but Snapchat was still connected. Leon was still on the screen, talking to the officer and confirming that the police got to the right address just in time. The paramedics put me on a stretcher and took me out to the ambulance, while the police put my uncle in the car. If I had not started that live stream, nobody would have known he was hiding in my closet until it was too late. I still have a big scar on my face, and I cannot sleep in a room with closed doors anymore. My phone stays turned off as soon as it gets dark every single night. Snapchat saved my life? Sounds weird, but it's true. In 2022, a content creator was stalked by a man who used her posts and live stories to pinpoint her exact location. He went to her neighborhood and forced his way into her home. He was arrested by the police at the scene. His identity remains confidential. In 2017, my phone screen was my entire life. I posted daily Snapchat videos about my routine and outfits until my audience exploded to 600,000 followers. Big brands flooded my mailbox with free clothes, makeup, and contracts. My world became bright ring lights and endless notifications, turning my bedroom into a full-time studio. I shared everything with my 3 childhood friends, Chloe, Sam, and Brenda. At first, they came over to celebrate my success, but as my numbers kept climbing, their attitude shifted into something bitter. They stopped laughing at my jokes during dinner and dropped cold comments about fake internet personalities whenever I mentioned a sponsor. Whenever I tried to include them in my videos, they made quick excuses and walked right out of the frame. Soon, our group chat went totally dead, and nobody answered when I invited them over. A mutual friend eventually admitted that they had a secret chat where they met every weekend to trash my reputation, convinced I was an arrogant monster who did not deserve any money or fame. Months later, toxic hate posts appeared all over Facebook and local forums. Fake accounts uploaded edited screenshots of my old messages to make me look terrible. An online group titled Exposing the Real Face quickly gained thousands of members, and every time I went live on Snapchat, hundreds of hateful messages flooded my screen telling me to disappear. The online hatred quickly spilled over into real life right outside my front door. Strange people threw heavy bags of trash onto my lawn, and someone scratched Deep Sam all the way down my car door. I locked every window, but the overwhelming anxiety kept me awake until sunrise, while my old friends completely ignored my desperate texts for help. One rainy Friday night, I finished a long stream around midnight and walked into the bathroom to wash off my makeup. The entire house was pitch black and dead silent except for the rain outside. I turned on the hot water tap, filling the room with steam as I picked up a towel. Suddenly, a massive metallic crash shattered the quiet house from the front door downstairs. The violent shockwave traveled straight through the floorboards under my feet, making my lungs lock up in pure terror. The heavy door lock snapped away from the wall as fast, aggressive footsteps rushed up the wooden stairs toward the bathroom. 3 tall figures in dark hoodies and face masks blocked my exit before I could even reach the window. The biggest guy stepped forward, grabbing a huge fistful of my hair and slamming my head hard against the tile wall. "Keep your mouth shut right now, or this gets way worse for you." Sam pulled down his mask, staring at me with wide, unblinking eyes like a complete lunatic. Behind him, Chloe and Brenda stepped into the small room, holding plastic zip ties and a thick roll of tape. My knees buckled from total terror, but Sam shoved his elbow straight into my chest, pinning me firmly against the cold wall. "You really thought you were better than us, didn't you? Please, just take my money downstairs." "We don't give a damn about your stupid money," Chloe screamed and yanked my arms behind my back, tying my wrists with zip ties until they cut straight into my skin. Brenda kicked my legs out from under me, dragging my helpless body onto the floor while they slapped thick tape over my mouth, forcing me to take rapid, terrified breaths through my nose. Sam dragged me by my sweater collar across the hallway floor into the main bedroom, throwing me down next to the full-length mirror. Brenda sat on my legs to keep me from moving, while Chloe flipped on the bright overhead light. Sam reached into his jacket and set a heavy steel claw hammer down on the nightstand with a terrifying thud. The room went completely silent, except for my ragged breathing against the tape. Sam picked up the hammer with a trembling grip, his knuckles turning white as he glared down at me with pure hatred. People only look at you because of your face. You built this fake life with cheap filters and a pretty smile. We spent 10 years listening to your nonsense, and now you treat us like strangers. Let's see if your followers care when there's nothing left to look at. Sam grabbed my jaw with his bare hand to hold my head flat against the floorboards. He raised the hammer high and brought the metal face crashing down directly into my mouth. The impact instantly shattered my front teeth into sharp pieces, driving broken bone fragments straight into my throat while blood flooded my mouth. He raised the hammer high a second time, swinging it down with terrible force straight into my right cheekbone. I heard a horrifying crunch as the bone collapsed, sending a wave of blinding heat across my face. I tried to pull away, but Chloe grabbed my hair and pinned me flat against the floor. "Keep hitting her. Make sure doctors can never fix this face." Sam struck the bridge of my nose, flattening it completely in one blow while dark blood poured into my eyes. He kept hitting my lower jaw 4 more times with rapid, heavy strikes, breaking the bone into small pieces. My vision blurred into dark red shapes, and my rapid breathing turned into a wet, rattling cough as blood blocked my throat. "Look at her now. Take pictures for her Snapchat fans." Brenda pulled out her phone, taking 3 close-up photos with a bright flash that blinded my left eye. My broken jaw was hanging at an unnatural angle, leaving bloody gaps where my teeth used to be. They stood over my shaking body for a few long moments, laughing quietly while watching me struggle to breathe. Sam tossed the bloody hammer onto my bed, and all 3 of them walked out of the house without saying another word. I listened to their fast footsteps on the stairs, followed by the heavy slam of the front door echoing through the building, leaving me completely alone in a pool of my own blood. My hands were still tied tightly behind my back, with plastic ties that cut deeper every time I moved. I managed to roll onto my stomach, using my knees and shoes to push my body toward the nightstand. Spikes of intense pain shot through my face with every small movement, making my vision fade out completely for seconds at a time. It took 20 agonizing minutes to reach the side of the bed where my phone was sitting on the lower shelf. I used my chin to knock the device onto the carpet, turned my back to the screen, and used my numb fingers to press the emergency button blindly with my thumb. I couldn't speak through the tape and broken jaw, so I repeatedly kicked the wooden bed frame with my shoes to make noise into the microphone. The operator tracked my location through the GPS signal, and 40 minutes later, emergency officers kicked open the broken front door and found me on the floor. I spent 3 endless weeks in the hospital, while surgeons installed 4 metal plates and 12 screws to rebuild my jaw and nose. My right cheekbone was far too crushed to fix, leaving a permanent dent on the side of my face. My lips were scarred, and I lost 7 teeth permanently. Police arrested them 2 days after the attack because they found the attack photos stored on Brenda's phone. They were sent to trial, but my life was completely ruined. The photos of my crushed face were leaked online by anonymous accounts, spreading across social media in hours. My follower count dropped instantly as thousands of people unfollowed my accounts, leaving disgusting comments about my appearance. Brand deals canceled their contracts by the end of the week, stating I no longer fit their image requirements, and my online career vanished in less than a month. I deleted every social media app from my phone forever. I wanted to get away from those horrible people, but unfortunately, the world is still very cruel. At least now I know that the people around me love me for who I am, not for how I look. Bianca Devins was a young woman with thousands of followers, who was attacked by her close circle of friends, driven by their anger that she was receiving attention from other people. She was murdered, and images of her body were posted on social media.